Welcome to the Lessons for Living television program. My name is Bill Santos. Thank you so much for watching. On today's program, we have our special guest, Dr. Barry Bussey is back with us again. Dr. Bussey, welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. Glad to be back again.
You know what? I'm always happy to see you, but I know when you're here, it's because there are things that are happening in our country in terms of religious liberties and government and freedom of expression that are keeping you up at night.
Yeah.
So we wanted you to bring us up to speed. But before we do that, for the benefit of some of the viewers that may not know who you are, give us a quick bio as who is Dr. Barry Bussey.
Well, so originally from Newfoundland, I always say it's God's country. It's one person said to me recently, he said, Barry, he said, Newfoundlanders are like homing pigeons. They always go back home. And in many ways, I'm that way. I'm looking for, I was there last summer and I'm going to be down there again this next summer. Going to take our children and our grandkids. Our kids spent, a number of years growing up there, but some of the grandkids, of course, they got no idea. They heard about Newfoundland, so they're going to see it next summer. So that's always fun. But so I practiced law in St. John's, then came up to Ontario, and been practicing here since 1996, actually, and spent a lot of my time in the charity world. A lot of Christian charities that I've served as in-house counsel for, that kind of thing. Did a lot of work on religious freedom. Was down in Washington, D.C. for a couple of years dealing with international religious freedom, and came back up and worked with the Canadian Centre for Christian Charities for about 10 years. And then after, going through the whole COVID thing, decided to do a change again and now back into private practice, where I practice law up in Peterborough, Ontario. Also running a First Freedoms Foundation, dealing with freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and inviolability of the person.
Well, that's great. And we would encourage you, our viewers, to check out Barry's organization. And if you're looking for legal work, I can highly recommend him. And so now.
Yes.
Barry, what's keeping you up at night?
Okay. So, well, there's a number of things that's developing over the last number of months, actually a year or so. We had back in December of 24, as the government was looking forward to the 25 budget, which, by the way, there will be no 25 budget. But because of all of the political ramifications that went on in Ottawa with the Prime Minister Trudeau resigning, then Mr. Carney coming in and becoming the current Prime Minister. But prior to the end of the calendar year last year in December, the Finance Committee made several recommendations that have become very problematic for the Christian world, and that is taking away, they're recommending that the Income Tax Act be amended so that advancement of religion would not be considered a charitable purpose.
Wow. And
that also any group that is in any way involved in a pro-life stand, that they would lose their charitable status as well, unless they are willing to support abortion and so forth. And so that's, or at least, provide information, but also, be involved in, making the recommendations as to where to go for an abortion, that kind of thing. And of course, a lot of groups, if they're pro-life, that, is just antithetical, right? It's an anathema for them to do that. And so what that has done is it has politicized the whole charitable sector now. So now when government now gets involved in, based on politics, what's going to be charitable and what's not going to be charitable, it's taking away from a long history in Canada. There is no legislation in Canada that defines what a charity is. So what happens is that we have a long history that goes way back to the 1600s, at the time of Queen Elizabeth I, wherein there was a definition of what is charitable. And in the I think it was 1890s, late 1890s, there was a known as a Pemsel decision over in Great Britain, where the court over there, the House of Lords, said that what's charitable is into 4 categories. Number 1 was going to be relief of poverty. Number 2, advancement of religion. Number 2 is advancement of education. Number 3 is advancement of religion. And number 4 is any other endeavor that is to the public good.
Okay.
All right. Now, so that has been the definition of what's charitable.
Okay.
That was at the time of the British common law, part of Canadian common law, and that's what we have right up to the present. So, under the advancement of religion as a charitable purpose, we have to recognize that we were a society which was, by and large, a Christian society. Right? You had small groups throughout the history of Canada, but by and large, it's a Christian country, whereby everyone understood when you talked about advancement of religion, it was kind of like an axiom. In other words, you didn't have to prove anything because everyone accepted it as true.
Got it.
And that there was a public benefit for the churches to be in a community. And if you...
So can I just interrupt you one second? That advancement of religion is not exclusive to Christianity.
No. And then
Advancement of religion.
Advancement of religion.
Got it, okay.
But within the Canadian context, it was primarily Christian.
Right.
And then, of course, later on, and I would also say that there was a fair number of other groups, like, for example, the Jewish community and so on, has been, many hundreds of years or whatever in Canada and so on as well. And then other groups have come in as time's gone on. But it was always the idea that religion is a positive.
Right. So when you advance religion, that has a positive effect on the community, therefore it's a charitable act.
Exactly. Yeah. So we never even thought about somehow quantifying what that benefit was.
Right. I see.
Right.
I get it.
It was just accepted.
Right.
Because you get, and of course we're talking from the Christian understanding.
Yes.
But we understood that you raise your children to be moral, productive. And various communities make different emphasis. If you're Mennonites and so on, you're dealing with peace and nonviolence. And then you look at the Reformed community, which also has the importance of making sure your children are properly educated, homeschooled, or whatever. And then everyone has, the Adventist community has the health issue is a big important for people to be healthy and all that kind of stuff. The Roman Catholics have the the schools, the hospitals, and we've all understood that throughout Canadian history, long before government got involved in hospitals or education, it was the churches that did that, right? So they were doing it, which it flowed right out of their religious experience, right? That they would do this, that they were engaged in the community and making things happen for the public good.
Yes.
And so this is what we call the public benefit of religion. Well, over the last number of decades, we have seen that various groups have been, because of a ideological position against the various teachings of the religious community, they've had issues with those communities having charitable status, because once they have charitable status, people can donate, they get their charitable receipt, which then they can write off on their income tax and so on.
Yes, exactly.
And so what was interesting is that about probably 30 years ago, maybe, somewhere in around there was an interesting dynamic that happened with respect to the bureaucracy's understanding of what getting that charitable receipt was. And so there was this a change whereby basically the government took the position that it was in essence subsidizing the charity, right? Because they gave the tax benefit.
That's right.
But I mean, it's the individuals who give money to the charity. But anyhow, but that was very fascinating because what that did then was that a lot of people, like today, make the argument, and they say that if we support through our taxes a religious community that is diametrically opposed to our worldview or our ideological position. And let's face it, the culture war, right? So you got, issues of marriage, issues of all kinds of
Gender.
you name it,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of issues
Yes.
that religion has taught for literally millennia. And so there is this within a number of communities now are saying, okay, now this is totally unacceptable. So now what we have is the government has been particularly just exercised over the issue of whether or not religious communities with particular religious beliefs should have charitable status. And we saw that, for example, and again, it started out with government giving grants to religious communities. In 2018, there was a big fuss because the government then said, okay, if the religious community is going to have funding for hiring students in the summer, the Canada Summer Jobs Program, then they must check off on a box that they agree to X, Y, Z, okay? There was a whole bunch of listings, and basically what it was the government's understanding of marriage, of abortion, and so forth, right? And all of that. So then what happened was that the religious community in 2018 said, no, this is totally unacceptable. I mean, you're forcing us to, if we want the money, to lie.
Yeah.
Or you're forcing us, to...
We're going to embrace something that we don't believe in.
Exactly. Yeah. And so anyhow, so that was then. And then so that I think was the first public notification, as it were.
I see, okay.
That kind of like foreshadows for what's coming. And for any of us who were involved in that issue, we could see that, okay, coming up, because if you follow the logic of that, is that if whatever public benefit or whatever government support the government gives on religious communities, you know full well that the whole issue of charitable status was going to come. Now then, in the Trinity Western University Law School case,
that must have been, yeah.
So then we got a situation where this school is wanting to have a law school. It's a Christian university. But part of the arguments that were being made was that when a government actor supports a religious organization, and in this case, the law societies would give accreditation to this law school, allowing those graduates to go and write the bar exam and practice law, then that public benefit we now got a question, because the school had a particular view on what marriage and sexual morality was that we, the law society, says this is totally unacceptable. And what is fascinating about that is that the law society is supposed to be regulating not the religious beliefs of any institution, but whether or not the graduate of their program would be competent to practice law if they pass the law exam, the bar exam. And the court, in my view, wrongly decided that no, the law societies can make those stipulations. Now, during the argument of that case, there was a very interesting discussion between the lawyer of the Canadian Bar Association and Justice Malcolm Rowe, who is the lone first Newfoundlander, by the way, just to add that in there, to be a member of the court. And there was a very interesting discussion because he was raising a hypothetical, and he was saying to the lawyer, he said, look, he said, take my hypothetical situation. You've got a Jesuit institute. And the Jesuit Institute, in order to be that institute, it has to be Catholic. And in order to be a Jesuit, you've got to be a man, and you got to be, a follower of the Catholic Church. Now, are you saying that that institute should not have any charitable registration? And the lawyer deferred and says, well, no, that's a hypothetical. Yeah, but he says, is that not the logic where you're taking us? And she said, yes, it is. And that's where we are. So that was back, that argument, I think, was made in around 2017, thereabouts. So I'm there in court, and of course, I mean, I'm all ears now. And so then what we did was we got working on a book where I got individuals from Europe, from Australia, from Canada, and we wrote on the concept of the public benefit of religion, because I knew full well
This was coming, right?
this was coming. And so we got that published in 2020, and anyone can find it. It's called The Public Benefit of Religion in the Law, or something to that effect. And you can find it on Amazon. Just Google or just put my name in Amazon, it comes up. But the point is that in there we had a whole bunch of arguments as to why we want to still keep, advancement of religion. And also give the experience of what's been happening over in the UK on this. Because the UK did take away the idea the advancement of religion was a public benefit, and that you basically had to quantify. And then the problem is what the individual who wrote the article in our book said, well, the fight now is, okay, so what's a benefit?
Right.
And so now there's a big debate going on in the UK. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of, okay, so what is the benefit?
Right.
Now, one group, Cardis, Cardis is a think tank in Ottawa, and they put together what is called the HALO Project. And what they've done is they've looked at various churches. They did an actual economic study of a local church, several churches, and said, okay, how much of a benefit, how can we quantify what the benefit is for having a church in your community?
Right.
And so what they found is that for every dollar a church spends in that local community, it actually is worth $3.39. So another $3.39 economic value. And then if you extrapolate that to the whole country, it's approximately $18 billion a year that goes into the local community in Canada for churches to exist and do their good works in the community.
Right.
Now, so that is significant.
That is, yes.
Right? But the reality is, those of us who are members of religious communities, we can see the value of, not only just in the actual dollars of what goes into the community, but we think of children that are raised to understand that their word is their bond, that they are to respect their elders, they're to love their parents, they're to love each other, they are to be productive citizens in society as they grow up and when they grow up. And so there is, how do you put a value on that? Right? So there are those kinds of things that what we understood in the past
is all being challenged.
Wow. Now, granted, there's a lot of reasons why that would be. For example, going on right now in the province of Quebec, there's a whole host of, the laïcité doctrine of secularism, saying that the government is supposed to be totally neutral, and they're trying to get rid of religion, I think, in many ways, from the public forum at all. And Commission just released, in the last week or so, a whole series of recommendations to take away churches from the public, even church groups like Christian organizations that want to organize in the universities and so on. They're basically, being pushed out by the university and the students' unions and all the rest, because they're saying, no, we're not to have any religion here, right? But, yes, there's been things that churches have done, where, there's been sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff. Well, yes, of course, there's going to be bad apples in every barrel, right? So, and I think as a society, we have to be careful that we're not going to be throwing the baby out, with the bathwater, right? Because there's a lot of good. And so anyhow, I put together a whole discussion of this, and I just put it up a few weeks ago, dealing with the advancement of religion. It's kind of like a seminar kind of thing. Now, the and we can give you the coordinates for that
Yeah,
to
please.
put it up
Yeah, we
on
will.
firstfreedoms.ca.
Yeah.
But
that
anyhow,
up.
the thing is that the government now this year had up until August 28, people could make presentations as to this upcoming budget, which now we understand is not going to be 25. Looks like it's going to be sometime in February now. So we have an entire year. First time, I think, in the history of Canada as a country, we've gone a whole year without a budget. But anyhow, but the thing is that people can still contact their members of parliament and say, hey, listen, you know, religion, advancement of religion is a public benefit. And we should keep it as a charitable purpose.
Wow.
And so that's not lost. We can still be reaching out to members of parliament on that issue. And I think is a very important issue, one that we have, you know, we need to work on and support.
I'll tell you, to bring it close to home, I mean, my organization exists
Yeah,
for the advancement of religion.
exactly.
That's the clause under which we got charitable status,
Right.
which would mean that we would no longer,
You'll have to prove
that we
Bill,
in fact have a positive impact on our communities.
exactly. You're going to have to say, okay, lessons for living.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is going to be the value?
Right. Wow.
And you know, and some people say, well, look, you know, there's no way this is going to happen. Well, it may not happen right now. I'd say it's a good 50-50 chance that it can happen now in the budget coming up. But the reality is, what we're seeing is this big, massive wave, a movement within bureaucracy, within secular society, within media, and all the rest that have just really hammered religion. If there's ever been a pressure put on the religious community, it is now in Canada. And so, yeah, just the fact that it may not happen, but I'd say it's a good 50-50 chance that it will be in the next budget. And that's huge. That's a huge thing that we need to be thinking
Well, it's come a long way since 2017.
It become a long ways, yeah.
I mean, in 2017 is not that long ago.
That's right. And it was when you had that argument in court, and then all of a sudden you got the
So
finance
that's just
committee.
that they actually admitted, yeah, that's exactly the direction we want to go.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, we only have a couple minutes left, but what I find is that the majority of church members are oblivious to these.
Yeah, and you know,
Misinformation.
I think it's extremely important to, you know, recognize what does it mean if your church loses its charitable status.
Right.
What does it mean?
Yes.
Now, it may very well be that some people say, well, we'll still give, you know, because on basis of tithe giving and that kind of
Right.
stuff, you know, we do it on principle.
Right.
But I know of an individual who, you know, is very much a convicted, a preacher with conviction, okay, who has spoke out and lost his charitable status, and he found that his people no longer gave.
Yes. And then it's a snowball effect.
It's snowball, yeah.
Right. Thanks, man.
All right, you're welcome.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we are, boy, we're in some anxious times in this world. Father, I want to pray a blessing first upon our nation, upon our leaders. Father, grant them the humility that they will seek direction from you. We thank you for Dr. Bussey and the information he provides. I pray that you will create an awakening amongst our members, that we will stand for our rights and we will advance the work that you have placed us here on earth to do. Bless each and every viewer, I pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, we've come to the end of another Lessons for Living television program. I want to thank you for joining us, for being here each and every week. Dr. Bussey, thank you for being with us.
Okay.
Hey, remind our viewers of First Freedoms and how to
Sure.
get a hold of you there.
Yeah, First Freedoms Foundation can be found at First Freedoms, plural on the freedoms, firstfreedoms.ca.
Okay, and what we will do for our viewers is we're going to put up a link
Okay,
to those that are interested in getting the book on the topic that we talked about
Sure.
today.
Yep.
We'll have that also on our website at l4ltv.com. So thank you again for being here, man.
my pleasure.
I want to remind you of our website, l4ltv.com. There is a link there to First Freedoms, and there'll be a link to Dr. Bussey's book. And you are now also available on Hope Channel Canada at hopetv.ca. Every single morning on Instagram, 6:30 a.m. Eastern Time, I put out a short devotional video. If you'd like to start your day with your focus on heaven, check that out. Follow me on Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You'll be notified every time a new episode is updated and uploaded to YouTube. Like our Facebook page, and you can download an audio version of our program on SoundCloud that you can carry with you and share with your friends. Please make a point of sharing this program. This is important information that needs to get out. We're all out of time. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you back again next time. God bless you. We'll see you then.